going to hope that this is working. Hello, hello, hello. I believe that it is working, and we have a lot to get through. So let's go ahead and get it started, I guess. Make sure it's working one last time. All right. We are here for another retro review on the channel. Retro review number 4 to be exact. NXT Takeover New Orleans 2018. I know for some of these the years don't matter, but I've put the years with all of them thus far. Now, there's a lot to go through. If you watched last week's retro review, you know I had trouble with my setup and filming, so we're trying something a little bit different. And so I've just been streaming on Twitch and then uploading the VOD. I almost called it a vlog. The VOD later. I like it. I don't think anybody else really has that big of a problem with it. I personally like using Fight Forever over WWE 2K24, and even to this extent, in the event that we're covering 2K18. So I'm not trying to back in Tom to do that. So that's why we're still on Fight Forever, and at least that the matchups that you will be seeing while I'm talking over them have matter and are reasonable. So you're probably wondering why the hell you're about to see a Cody and Kenny match. We'll get to that when we get to that. So, thing one, we're in the different setup still. Probably will be for quite a while. Thing two, and this is an important note for me because it's bothering me. I did not know that AEW/Ring of Honor would be uploading the Global Wars Australia event as early as they were. I thought it was going to be a special edition of Ring of Honor TV, but no, it's just a special event and on its own that was uploaded to Honor Club. Now, I would have covered that as soon as possible, but I was already in the process of rewatching this NXT TakeOver event and in the process of filming that, so that is why this is coming more than likely before the Global Wars Australia event, unless I am able to pull magic out of my ass. We'll see what the hell happens there. But I will try my damnedest to upload that as soon as possible. But as of right now, we're in the process of talking about NXT TakeOver New Orleans. We're 3 minutes in, and I did not do this for the last retro review, but we're doing it for this one. We're talking about things happening around the world of wrestling around this time period, mainly this weekend because this was WrestleMania 34 weekend in New Orleans. I've talked about this WrestleMania several times already on the channel without even having to review it, and at some point it might be reviewed, might not. Time will tell with that, but this is one of the main reasons that we're doing this Cody and Kenny match first. So, thing one, WWE Hall of Fame, because I covered it with TakeOver Dallas, mainly because it was Sting being inducted. This time around, we had Goldberg inducted. I don't really remember much from his speech. I'm pretty sure it was short and simple. The main speech that I remember from this night was from Hillbilly Jim, in which he said, "I'm not going to take long," and then proceeded to take like 20 to 30 minutes. So, it was what it was. But slowly but surely, the Hall of Fame doesn't really mean as much. I'm not going to say it doesn't mean as much, but I've not watched a full Hall of Fame since this one. Because 2019, I was watching Supercard of Honor. 2020, they didn't do one. 2021 was like a double combo with no fans, and I'm pretty sure I only watched RVD's speech. 2022, I watched the Steiners and Sting. 2023, I don't even think I saw all of Ray's speech. And then this year, I didn't really tune in. So the Hall of Fame, this is the last one that I watched in its entirety. Thing two, the most notable non-WWE event of the weekend, headlined, and the main highlight was this Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega matchup at ROH Supercard of Honor. Now, there's several things to discuss with this. Thing one wasn't even the main event of the show, which in hindsight is incredibly weird in my eyes. The main event of that show was Dalton Castle versus Marty Scurll for the World Championship. In the moment that the referee's hand hit 3, you just saw a bunch of fans jump up and leave, which I imagine they were expecting a title change. I just feel that also this Cody and Kenny match was a very big match to take place. In the history of the Bullet Club, we never really had proper leaders, and so these two were battling to see who was the quote-unquote leader. We had the Bullet Club Civil War, which was a couple of years after the Civil War, and with Captain America and Iron Man, similarities between both sides. Obviously, Kenny kind of struggles to be either because he's Canadian. Regardless, this was a massive matchup and at some point might be covered down the line. Now, at WrestleMania 34, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about non-Takeover New Orleans because I could spend a lot of time with this. WrestleMania 34, these are the notes that I wrote down. IC title opener was great, and Seth became Intercontinental Champion. Asuka's streak came to an end, which even all this time later, still a little bit pissed off about. Ronda Rousey had her debut match, and I can't say it went all downhill from there. I really can't, because just so many people have differing opinions about Ronda Rousey and her wrestling tenure. That was a great first matchup, and people were into that matchup. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, disappointed and was just mainly a head scratcher. And the main thing I note that I always take away is that Shinsuke turned heel after the bout, which I've even said it on the channel here when talking about Shinsuke's run in NXT and what the hell he has done in WWE. I thought they should have just saved the heel turn for that next episode of SmackDown, but I can't go back in time and change that. Why the hell he would roll out and then roll back in while he's going to finish, I don't know, but it's working out for him. Of note, Daniel Bryan returned to the ring after his 2-year hiatus. And the main thing that I remember from that matchup is that, again, he was out for 2 years, and Shane McMahon wrestled a great majority of that matchup, which is a bit insane to look at it now. Now, lastly, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar had a match that was kind of forgettable and pointless. I'm not going to say pointless, but out of all, they've wrestled a lot more times. That's up there with their weakest bout. So that was things that happened that weekend. Now, the last thing we need to discuss before we really get into this review, we're going to do something special because I just said Daniel Bryan. And we have a ladder match on this event that is legitimately going to be the first bout that we discuss. We're going to put Adam Cole, who's in that match, against Daniel Bryan / Bryan Danielson, whatever the hell you want to refer to him as. Because I had 2 matches planned. I'm more than likely to have 3 matches planned. Also, that arena that we're in, it's not an NXT arena. It's supposed to be a PWG arena, but for the sake of this, I'll let it be known as an NXT arena. Now, I want to discuss title changes that had happened from TakeOver Brooklyn 3 until now, because all the 3 titles that were in NXT at that time had changed hands. Drew McIntyre had a very short, I'm not going to say a very short, but a somewhat short NXT title reign, as he would lose it to Andrade at TakeOver War Games. At that same event, Ember Moon would win the vacant Women's Championship, and the Undisputed Era consisted of Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly would be the tag team champions. So in the sake of the title scene in NXT, a new championship would be added and was the opening contest of this TakeOver event. Before that match happened, we did get a live performance by Kane Hill, who was a New Orleans band. And, I'm not really a music critic, but the main note that I would say was the drums and guitar were way louder than the singer. But this North American title ladder match consisted of some controversial people, but for the sake of this, we're just going to talk about the match. We ain't talk about any of that stuff. But consisted of Adam Cole, Bebe, Ricochet in his first match in NXT. EC3, who was also in his first match, technically in NXT, if you don't count the competition game show era. Killian Dane, Lars Sullivan, and Velveteen Dream. I've said it several times. This will be the last time I say it. The winner of this match would be the first North American champion. The action spills to the outside early, including a springboard shooting star by Ricochet. Cole tries to climb the ladder, but is stopped by EC3. Sullivan and Dane battle one another in and out of the ring. Everyone starts to brawl, with Lars throwing a ladder at all of them. Everyone helps powerbomb Lars off of a ladder quickly after. EC3 taunts Cole, which leads to a superkick party by Adam Cole. Dream delivers some elbow drops and one off of the top of a ladder. EC3 knocks some people out of the way, but pays for it with Dane hitting a Vader, just combined ladder and Vader, with Killian Dane hitting a Vader bomb with Cole attached to his back on top of a ladder. Ricochet gets tossed around the ring and then later tossed out of the ring while on a ladder. Once back in the ring, he is able to hit a shooting star press to the outside onto EC3. We get a Death Valley driver by the Velveteen Dream while balancing on a ladder. Sullivan chokeslams EC3 onto Dream and through a ladder on the outside. Dane, moments later, slams Cole through a ladder with Ricochet on it. All this leads to more brawls while on the ladders. This is I was going to say infamous, but a lot of multi-man ladder matches have the spot where they have 3 ladders up and people climb on each side, and so that was the case here. Cole takes EC3 out while Ricochet takes out Dream. Sullivan does to Dane, and then we're getting to the finishing spot of the match where Ricochet springs board onto a ladder that Lars Sullivan was on, and the ladder completely collapses and they fall into the corner. So a new ladder has to be propped up, and Ricochet thinks that he's the new guy in town. He's going to become the first North American champion, but Adam Cole says no to that and knocks him off the ladder and becomes the first North American champion. But he cannot win. The ladder matches on this game suck ass. We're running it back. But Adam Cole would go on to become the first North American champion, first men's North American champion, because guess what? They added a women's one, and I'm glad that they somewhat paid homage to this match in that, because the first women's North American champion was crowned in a 6-person ladder match as well. Now, we're moving on to our next bout, which is for the women's championship. And it is Ember Moon defending against Shayna Baszler. This is a rematch from the previous takeover in which Ember Moon was able to defeat Shayna Baszler to retain her women's championship, but a large amount of damage was done to her shoulder, which also plays a factor into this bout. We got a live performance for Ember Moon's entrance, while we see that Ronda Rousey and Jessamine Duke are in the crowd to support Shayna Baszler. We got a fast pace by Moon to start the bout, but it gets slowed down once Shayna targets Moon's back and injured shoulder that was previously mentioned. We get a pair of running knees by Shayna and a series of kicks by Moon. Moon stomps on Shayna's arm the same way that her arm was stomped, which I know that I keep going back and forth. Arm, shoulder. The whole arm area is hurt and injured. So if I keep going back and forth, the simplest way to say it is arm, but they always said the shoulder. This leads to Shayna having to pop her own shoulder back in place on the turnbuckle. This sets her up with the opportunity to be hit with an eclipse on the outside, which I had a complete brain fart last review because I was like, what the hell does Athena call this move now? And it's the O face now, but it was the Eclipse back then. Personally, I think the Eclipse is a slightly better name. We get the Karavuda clutch by Shayna, but Moon fights out of it. A second Eclipse is reversed into another Karavuda clutch attempt by Shayna, which Moon is not able to get out of and eventually passes out, leading to Shayna Baszler being the new women's championship. I don't really remember their TakeOver Philly match, so whatever I'm about to say is kind of, half-assed, but I kind of enjoyed this match a little bit better. From what I remember, I enjoyed this match a lot more than their TakeOver Philly match, and it was probably main reason they decided to run this back so quickly. And we had a new women's champion. Now, we have new tag team champions because we got another title bout up next. It's also weird that I just realized that all the title matches are back to back to back to back. But this time around, the stakes are high for the tag team championships, as it is also the finals of the 2018 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. The winners of the tournament were initially going to get a title opportunity at this takeover event, but the Undisputed Era interfered, trying to, stop that from happening. And William Regal's like, we're not going to really have that. They're going to get an opportunity at Takeover New Orleans. So I did write down the other teams involved in the Dusty Classic that year. The Street Profits, who are still a team to this day. Heavy Machinery, which one half of that team is still in the WWE. Sanity, Tino Sabatelli, and future Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner, Riddick Moss. Oni Lurkin and Danny Burch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 7, 8. Now, the people in this matchup are the Undisputed Era, the Authors of Pain, and Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne. But the issue here is that Bobby Fish is injured, and the Undisputed Era have to have Adam Cole compete for a second time on this event due to the situation, which they kind of was screwed regardless because, he would have had to compete twice, but they're also having to go against another team because they interfered in the initial finals, like I previously mentioned. No legal competitors to start the bout off, with the Undisputed Era being the early targets, and Cole almost immediately, he kind of gets a rest, but it's a painful way to get it because he is put through an announce table on the outside. Strong and O'Reilly go at it while in the ring, with Pete Dunne being powerbomb on top of them. O'Reilly falls out of the ring after a suplex, but it takes his time in doing so. Both teams struggle to take out the Authors of Pain, especially after a double powerbomb and last chapter finisher. Strong and Dunne work together to take out the Authors of Pain, and then Dunne hits the bitter end on O'Reilly, but before a pinfall can be made, Strong stomps on his own tag team partner and hits the end of Heartache as well, setting up the Undisputed Era to win, as well as getting a new member of the group, that being Roderick Strong. So your 2018 Dusty Rhodes Classic winners are the Undisputed Era. And guess what? They only had one damn match in the tournament, so maybe they were thinking with their brain. I don't remember logically the reasoning on TV for Roddy being added to the group. I imagine a lot of it had to be due to Fish's injury, which he does take a while to recover from. We get a slightly better tag team with Roddy and Kyle. And, in the modern world of wrestling, the Undisputed Era have reunited as the Undisputed Kingdom with Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. So I will say, the asshole in me is bothered that Roddy competed the whole match with Pete Dunne. He had also been feuding with the Undisputed Era since coming into the company. They came into the company. And then he just joins them. And it was just during the match. But seeing the legendary run that they would go on, and are still technically on now, I could look past it, as now we have a NXT title match to get to discuss and to view as well. AEW had a lot of these damn talents, eh? This NXT title match, though, is Andrade Cien Almas defending against Aleister Black. If you go back, that's not fast forward, that's actually the opposite of fast forward. If you rewind back to the previous TakeOver WrestleMania weekend in 2017, these two men competed, but obviously this time around with bigger stakes, as the NXT Championship is on the line. And a lot of momentum is on both men's side. We get an immediate big boot by Aleister and moonsault to the outside afterwards. but he does not see Vega, who pushes Selena Vega, who pushes him into the ring post. Andrade then applies some submission holds while tied up in the ropes. Aleister catches Andrade with a pop-up knee and follows it up with a series of kicks. Andrade's double flip moonsault only gets a 2 count. We had a series of forearm exchanges between the two afterwards. Then Andrade hits a corkscrew plancha to the outside. Also, that only gets a 2 count. Zelina then tosses the title into the ring, but only for the referee to be distracted and to hit Aleister with a Hurricane Rana. This also sets up another 2 count for Andrade. A black mass by Aleister is hit, only getting a 2 count, but this is due to Zelina putting Andrade's foot on the rope. Black gets caught in between the ropes where Andrade delivers a foot stomp and then follows it up with a Meteora, all of which gets a 2 count. Another Meteora is hit this time around with Aleister being placed on the outside apron. Black hits a dive to the outside, but once back of the ring, Andrade quickly hits a DDT, setting up another 2 count. Then Zelina tries to dive onto Aleister, but moves out of the way, and Andrade catches her, but he cannot put her down in enough time for Aleister to hit the black mass and pick up the victory and become the new NXT champion. This, like I said, I don't remember their matchup from the previous year's TakeOver, but for the stakes that happened, and I also was not impressed by their first matchup, I could definitely say a significant step forward. This would also be one of Andrade's last matches in NXT because he'd soon get called up. But I do think he has one last match with Johnny Gargano, I believe. And then obviously Aleister stays around a little bit long. He actually stays for another year because he has an NXT title run. Then he loses it to Ciampa. And then him and Gargano and Ciampa were supposed to have a triple threat, but he gets injured. He comes back later. Has a tag one run with Ricochet, which at the time, and looking back at it now, was kind of weird, but they made it work. And spoiler alert, they won the 2019 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Finals. So he has another year in NXT, and if you stay in the rumor mills, he might have one more in him. So time will tell with that. That's not what we need to discuss now. I'm trying to see what was going on. What we need to discuss is our main event matchup. An unsanctioned bout between two good friends, two tag team partners, Johnny Gargano and Tomasso Ciampa. I'm filming this video the night after Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, two also good friends, it was announced to have an unsanctioned match at the next premium live event pay-per-view at TakeOver Chicago. Ciampa and Gargano would lose in the main event to the Authors of Pain, and Ciampa would not be that happy with that and attack Gargano afterwards, but he took a lot of time off afterwards because he was injured. So Gargano would start his singles run at this point. Once Ciampa returned, he didn't want any more to do with Gargano. This includes attacking him after having a great match with Andrade at the previous TakeOver event, which at some point we'll probably discuss on the channel, but it will be a while for that. Regardless, this is me being the asshole that I am and overthinking things, but I dumbed it and settled it down. So Andrade and Gargano would have another match on NXT TV. And if Gargano lost, he would leave NXT. And Ciampa would cost him that match. Now, here's the asshole in me and what I was overthinking. So, Gargano should be gone. He should not be coming back. But he's obviously coming back for retaliation because he did not properly lose. And Ciampa calls him again and has attacked him. So I understand Gargano coming back. For Ciampa, if he wins this match, Gargano is not allowed back in the company. He is gone forever, which is the obvious reason why it's unsanctioned, because Gargano technically is not in WWE. The asshole of me is like, if I'm Ciampa, why would I even take this match? He's not supposed to be here. He lost his damn match already. Why is he here still? But he started this. He wants to put Gargano away himself. That's why this match is happening. So I talked myself into what they already presented, but me overthinking it. I did want to at least point that out to y'all. So let's get to this unsanctioned bout. This is also the era where Ciampa did not have any entrance music, and I guess the music you could say for him was the boos that the crowd would give him. The two stare each other down even after the bell rings, and then soon after they followed up with a brawl. Gargano ends up being the main aggressor and hits a dive to the outside. The fight continues while on the outside with the mat at ringside being exposed, and then they brawl into the commentary area, and the commentary crew, get knocked down and can't even speak during it. This sets up Ciampa to hit a suplex off of the announce table. Then once back of the ring, Ciampa targets Gargano's back, including a Texas Clover Leaf, which Gargano is able to reach the ropes, but it does not matter because there are no rope breaks. A fan at ringside has a pair of crutches that are taken by Ciampa, which one of the main parts of the story was Ciampa attacking Gargano with a crutch, so it plays into this story already and the match a little bit later. The exposed mat area comes into play once Ciampa is powerbombed onto it. A tug-of-war takes place for that crutch that was previously mentioned, with Gargano being the victor and able to use it several times. Gargano gets caught with a Ciampa knee and blue thunderbomb. Gargano is not able to hit a reverse Hurricane Rana all the way, but is able to lock in a Gargano escape, which, spoiler alert, Ciampa gets out of. Once they stand back up, we get a boo-yay punch exchange. As Ciampa took his wrist tape off, and we were to ponder and think that he's going to use it as a weapon, but Gargano grabs it, so this leads to that boo-yay punch exchange. Ciampa is lawn darted into the exposed turnbuckle area and is followed up with a super kick that gets a close 2 count. Ciampa hits a Project Ciampa off of the second rope that also gets a close 2 count as well. The knee brace of Ciampa is then taken off and used on Ciampa's own knee as he is running towards Gargano. Gargano, though, stops himself from doing further damage as Ciampa kneels down, and they try to recollect. Oh, that's cool. And rekindle their friendship even after all these months of backstabbing and minutes of viciously beating each other up. But it was just a ploy for Ciampa to attack him again, but Gargano kind of sees this happening, and he grabs the knee brace once again and uses it while he is in an STF, an ultimate Gargano escape, I guess you could say, as well, as he does win his job back, and while also winning this bout and ending our first TakeOver trilogy. So this is a all-time event. I feel that if you've not watched this by now, something might, I'm not, go out of your way to do it. If not, you at least know what the hell happens because I just told you. So I thoroughly enjoyed this event. I've enjoyed the previous takeovers that we discussed, and I discussed, and you listened. That's how being very literal of it. So at some point down the line with the retro reviews, we will return to takeover reviews at some point and have another set of takeover trilogies, but we're going to take a bit of a break from that for now, as I do know the next retro review next week before the real life Elimination Chamber pay-per-view that weekend will be covering an event that has 2 Elimination Chamber matchups, that being No Way Out 2008. So we got a lot of things to get through at this later on. If you are seeing this before, maybe even after my Global Wars Australia review, you at least understand how that happened. Because I haven't even watched any of that event yet. So time will tell there. Also, if you've been hearing my dog snore during the course of this, I couldn't stop it. He was already asleep. So there is that as well. So this is the part of the video where I just blab on, even though I need to press the end record button, which I'm going to do now. So I do appreciate you for watching this. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, because I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully. I'm out for now. Goodbye.